Have you ever seen a photo so wild it made you question if it's even real? Get ready because these historical pictures are on a whole new level. From jaw-dropping mysteries to moments that seem too crazy to be true, these images will seriously leave you speechless. Some are heartwarming, others are downright chilling, but all of them will blow your mind. Stay tuned because what you're about to see will really shock you to the core. Number 15. Daredevils in the Sky, Building the Eiffel Tower, 1888. Imagine balancing on a thin metal beam hundreds of feet above Paris with nothing but your balance keeping you from falling. No safety harnesses, no protective nets, just you, the beam, and the very long drop below. That was daily life for the workers constructing the Eiffel Tower back in 1888. The photograph shows these fearless men perched high above the Parisian landscape, casually working as if they weren't dangling at heights that would make most of us freeze in terror. What's crazier is how relaxed they look. These guys are just hanging out, sometimes literally, while putting together what would become one of the world's most famous landmarks. They're walking along narrow beams, hammering metal joints, and even taking breaks sitting on small platforms with their legs dangling over the edge. The safety standards? Basically non-existent. No hard hats, no safety lines, no protection whatsoever. These workers relied entirely on their balance, strength, and concentration to stay alive. One wrong step or moment of dizziness could mean death. When the tower was completed in 1889, it stood as the tallest man-made structure in the world at 1,063 feet. Today we admire its elegant design, but this photo reminds us of the human cost behind it, the unnamed workers who risked everything to create an icon that would last for generations. Number 14. The Golden Gate Bridge Opening, 1937. May 27, 1937. San Francisco is buzzing with excitement. After years of construction, the magnificent Golden Gate Bridge is finally open to the public. The photograph from that day captures something absolutely incredible. The bridge completely packed with pedestrians from one end to the other. This wasn't just a few curious folks taking a stroll. The image shows an estimated 2,617 people visible in just that single frame of the photo, and that's only a fraction of the total crowd. Engineers watched nervously as the bridge visibly sank under all that weight. Would their massive creation hold up? What makes this photo so powerful is the timing. This was 1937, right in the middle of the Great Depression. For Americans suffering through those tough economic times, this wasn't just a bridge opening, it was a symbol of hope and progress when the country desperately needed it. Look at the faces in the crowd, men in suits and fedoras, women in dresses and coats, all coming together to celebrate this achievement. By crossing the bridge that day, these ordinary people were becoming part of history, connecting San Francisco to Marin County in a way that had never been possible before. The bridge didn't just span the Golden Gate Strait, it represented American resilience during one of the nation's darkest periods. This photo captures that perfect moment when engineering brilliance and human spirit came together in an unforgettable way. Number 13. Phantom Ships, Russia's Floating Wooden Buildings. Picture yourself standing on the banks of a massive Russian river in the 19th century. Instead of seeing normal boats, you spot what looks like an entire wooden building floating downstream. That's exactly what this incredible photograph shows, Russia's ingenious timber barges. In 19th century Russia, timber was economic gold, used for everything from building homes to constructing ships. But there was a huge problem. How do you transport enormous amounts of wood from remote forests to the cities where it was needed? Roads were terrible and regular ships couldn't carry nearly enough. The solution? Build massive disposable ships made entirely out of the very timber being transported. These weren't ordinary vessels. They were floating wooden buildings, often reaching 400 feet long, longer than a football field. What made them truly remarkable was their simplicity. They had no engines or sails, relying entirely on the river current, while workers steered using basic rudders. When these floating behemoths finally reached their destination after weeks or even months of travel, something amazing happened. Rather than making the impossible journey back upstream, the entire barge was dismantled. Every single plank and beam was sold as merchandise. Nothing went to waste. These timber barges show Russian ingenuity at its finest. A creative solution that turned a transportation problem into an elegant system. The photograph preserves this forgotten innovation that most people today have never even heard of. Number 12. Luxury Frozen in Time, the RMS Olympic's first-class suites. Step aboard the RMS Olympic in the 1910s, and you'd find yourself in a floating palace of luxury. This remarkable photograph gives us a window into the opulent world that wealthy passengers experienced on this famous ocean liner. And as the sister ship to the ill-fated Titanic, It shows us exactly what was lost beneath the waves. This isn't just a cabin, it's a showcase of Edwardian excess. Look at the intricate wood paneling covering the walls, the plush armchairs inviting relaxation, and the writing desk where passengers could pen letters about their grand adventure across the Atlantic. The stateroom features stained glass windows that bathe the space in colored light. Electric lamps, still a novelty for many at that time, provided modern illumination. Most impressive for the era was the private bathroom, a luxury that even many wealthy homes didn't yet have. Imagine soaking in a porcelain tub as the massive ship cut through ocean waves. What makes this photograph particularly valuable is that the Olympic was nearly identical to the Titanic in design and decor. These images show us exactly what life was like for the Titanic's wealthy passengers, people like John Jacob Astor IV and Benjamin Guggenheim, before disaster struck. The Olympic earned the nickname Old Reliable for its successful career spanning decades, while its sister ship became history's most famous maritime disaster. Looking at these luxurious accommodations, you can't help but wonder, did this level of comfort give passengers a false sense of security as they sailed the dangerous North Atlantic? That was once as feared as it was misunderstood. But in the 1890s, there were no effective treatments. The man in the image bears the severe marks of untreated leprosy, skin lesions, nerve damage and cartilage destruction that have dramatically changed his appearance. But beyond the physical suffering, people with leprosy faced something perhaps even worse: extreme social isolation and stigma. Leprosy was widely viewed as a divine punishment or curse rather than what we now know it to be, a bacterial infection. Those affected were frequently sent to isolated colonies, separated from their families and communities. Many spent their entire lives in these colonies, cut off from normal society simply because of a medical condition. What makes this photograph particularly significant is how it documents a suffering that's now largely preventable. Modern antibiotics can completely cure leprosy if caught early enough. Organizations like the World Health Organization have worked tirelessly to reduce its spread and impact. But despite medical advances, stigma still persists in certain parts of the world. This powerful image reminds us not only of how far medical science has come, but also how harmful fear and misconception can be when dealing with disease. Number 3. The Ritual Pain Woman in Bandages 1940. This striking photograph from 1940 shows a woman participating in a religious ritual at the San Juan de los Lagos Fair in Mexico. Her face is wrapped in bandages, a crown of thorns rests on her head, and pressed against her chest is a spiny nopal cactus, its sharp thorns piercing her skin. A man supports her as she walks while she carries a plate to catch the blood from her self-inflicted wounds. What's happening here isn't torture, it's a profound expression of religious devotion. The photograph documents religious syncretism, the blending of Catholic and indigenous practices that created unique cultural expressions throughout Mexico. For this woman, physical suffering is a pathway to spiritual transcendence. Her voluntary pain represents an extreme form of devotional practice, connecting her suffering to that of Jesus Christ. The crown of thorns directly references Christ's passion, while the cactus spines and bandages create additional physical suffering as part of her spiritual journey. This image challenges modern viewers to consider the diverse and sometimes radical ways humans express their deepest religious convictions. While such practices might seem shocking to contemporary audiences, they come from deep traditions where physical pain can represent purification, devotion, and spiritual connection. What makes this photograph particularly powerful is how it captures the intensity of faith, the willingness to endure physical suffering for spiritual purposes. It's a remarkable documentation of cultural practices that blend multiple religious traditions into unique expressions of devotion. Number 2. Confined in Darkness, the Little Ease Cell. Imagine being trapped in a space so small you can neither stand up straight, sit down comfortably, nor lie flat. Now imagine staying in that position for days or weeks in complete darkness. This was the reality for prisoners confined to Little Ease, one of history's most psychologically devastating torture cells, located beneath the White Tower of the Tower of London. Little Ease was designed with a single purpose: to break a prisoner's spirit through extreme confinement. Measuring only about 1.2 meters square, about 4 feet, this tiny cell forced prisoners into constantly uncomfortable positions with no space to stretch out. Prisoners' muscles would cramp, joints would stiffen, and the unrelenting discomfort would eventually become unbearable agony. As if the physical torture weren't enough, Little Ease was kept in complete darkness. Prisoners existed in a void with no way to track the passage of time. The psychological impact of this sensory deprivation, combined with physical discomfort, often succeeded where other torture methods failed, breaking even the strongest will. A rare photograph taken in 1898 by Sir Benjamin Stone shows the door to Little Ease slightly ajar. The image reveals nothing but impenetrable darkness inside, with a simple plaque reading Little Ease, an understated label for such a horrific place. After enduring days in this cramped darkness, prisoners would be dragged out for interrogation, their bodies weakened and minds disoriented. Many would confess to anything just to avoid returning to the cell. The existence of places like Little Ease reminds us how far our concepts of justice and human rights have evolved, and why we must remain vigilant against their erosion. Number 1. Flying Toward Hope, Puerto Rican Migration 1946. The year is 1946. World War II has just ended, and surplus military transport planes are being repurposed for a different kind of journey, carrying Puerto Rican families toward new lives in the mainland United States. This powerful photograph shows Puerto Ricans boarding one of these basic transport planes. There's nothing luxurious about this flight, just simple bench seating, no amenities, and none of the comforts we associate with modern air travel. But for these passengers, these planes represented something far more valuable than comfort: opportunity. Post-war Puerto Rico faced serious challenges: high unemployment, limited opportunities, and widespread poverty. Meanwhile, American cities, especially New York, were booming. Industries needed workers, and with air travel becoming more affordable, thousands of Puerto Ricans seized the chance to start fresh in the mainland U.S. Before the 1940s, traveling between Puerto Rico and the mainland usually meant a long, uncomfortable boat journey. The introduction of air travel dramatically shortened this trip, allowing more families to make the move. Between the 1940s and 1960s, over 500,000 Puerto Ricans migrated to the mainland in what became known as the Great Puerto Rican Migration. Their arrival transformed neighborhoods across New York City, especially in areas like Spanish Harlem, El Barrio, which developed into vibrant cultural centers where Puerto Rican traditions, food, music, and language flourished. The photo captures more than just a moment of transit. It documents a pivotal point of hope and courage. Each person boarding those planes faced uncertainty, leaving behind family, familiar surroundings, and cultural roots. Many didn't speak English and would face discrimination. Yet they boarded anyway, carrying dreams of better education for their children and economic opportunities beyond what their island home could provide. Thanks for watching another episode. While you are still here, make sure to click the video on your screen for more quality content.